The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been running for 3 straight days. Representatives from 47 different species crowded the massive chamber, their voices creating a chaos of languages, clicks, whistles, and electronic tones. Fear hung in the air like a poisonous cloud. Lord Crix of the Dreknari slammed his clawed fist against the speaking platform, his reptilian features twisted with barely contained panic. The Harvester swarm has consumed the entire Proxima system. 18 billion lives, gone in 72 hours. His voice carried the weight of disbelief that still haunted him. The Dreknari had ruled their sector for over 3,000 years. Nothing had ever threatened them like this. The chamber fell silent. Even the soft humming of the luminous representatives stopped. Advisor Shen, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline form, floated forward. When she spoke, her voice resonated like music played through broken glass. Our combined fleets engaged the Harvesters at the edge of the Vega system. We lost 60% of our ships before we could retreat. Their adaptive armor learned to deflect our plasma weapons within minutes of first contact. A collective shudder passed through the assembly. The Luminous were known throughout the galaxy for their advanced energy weapons. If their technology had failed so completely, what hope did anyone have? The ancient records speak of the Harvesters, continued Shen. They are not truly alive, but they are not simple machines either. They are something between life and death, created by a species that died out millions of years ago. Every 1,000 millennia they wake from their slumber to feed. They consume entire worlds to build more of themselves. General Tolk of the mineral-based Rockborn spoke next. His voice sounded like grinding stone. My people have fortified our homeworld. Our planetary shields can withstand any known weapon, but the Harvesters do not use weapons as we understand them. They devour the very atoms of matter itself. Our shields mean nothing to them. Reports came flooding in from across the galaxy. The mechanical swarm was advancing on multiple fronts. They moved like a plague, turning entire star systems into raw materials for their expansion. Their ships were black as space itself, absorbing light and energy. They communicated through signals that drove most organic minds to madness, just by listening. Lord Crix accessed the central database with his neural implant. We need new strategies, new weapons, new allies. His eyes narrowed as he pulled up recent survey data. What about the humans? They are primitive, but they have something we do not. The chamber erupted in protests. The humans of Earth were barely a century into their space age. Their technology was laughably basic. They still used chemical rockets and kinetic weapons. Most species in the Council had been traveling between stars for thousands of years before humanity even discovered fire. They are barbarians, hissed a serpentine delegate. Their entire history is nothing but warfare. They fight each other constantly. Exactly, said Crix. While we have evolved beyond such crude behavior, they have perfected the art of destruction. They know how to kill in ways we have forgotten. Advisor Shen's crystalline form pulsed with skeptical light. Their weapons are projectiles and explosives. How can such primitive tools help against an enemy that adapts to our most advanced technology? Because the Harvesters have never encountered such primitive tools, replied Crix. They adapt to energy weapons, plasma cannons, fusion torpedoes. But what happens when they face bullets and bombs, chemical explosives and nuclear fission? The debate raged for hours. Many delegates argued that contacting humanity would be beneath their dignity. Others worried about giving advanced technology to such a violent species. But as reports continued to arrive of more systems falling to the Harvesters, desperation began to win over pride. On Earth, Captain Alex Reed was reviewing maintenance reports in his small office at the Colorado Space Command when the alert came through. Not the usual drill alarm or equipment malfunction. This was the code that every officer hoped they would never hear. First contact. Reed dropped his coffee mug. The ceramic shattered on the concrete floor as he ran toward the command center. The hallways filled with personnel moving with urgent purpose. Nobody had expected this day to come so suddenly. General Maria Santos was already at the main communications console when Reed arrived. Her face was pale, but determined. On the massive screens around them, technical staff were making rapid adjustments to the translation protocols they had spent decades preparing. "Talk to me, Phillips," Santos called to her chief communications officer. "We're receiving a transmission on multiple frequencies. The signal is incredibly complex, but our computers are picking up mathematical patterns. It's definitely artificial. Definitely intelligent." Phillips wiped sweat from his forehead. "General, I think they're trying to learn our language." The next 6 hours passed in a blur of activity. Linguists, mathematicians, and computer specialists worked around the clock to establish meaningful communication. Slowly, painfully, a basic understanding emerged. The beings calling themselves the Galactic Council needed help. They faced an enemy that threatened all life in the galaxy. They offered humanity advanced technology in exchange for military assistance. Santos gathered her senior staff in the secure briefing room. The weight of the decision pressed down on everyone present. "They want us to be soldiers in their war," she said quietly. "They're offering us technologies that could advance our civilization by centuries. But at what cost?" Reed studied the translated messages on his tablet. "Their descriptions of human warfare make us sound like monsters. They clearly think we're primitive savages. Maybe that's what they need right now," said Colonel West, the head of strategic planning. "They've tried fighting this enemy with advanced weapons and failed. Perhaps our primitive methods will succeed where theirs have not." The debate continued through the night. Some argued that humanity should stay out of an alien conflict. Others believed this was humanity's chance to join the galactic community. Still others worried about the risks of dealing with beings whose true motivations remained unclear. Finally, as dawn broke over the Rocky Mountains, Santos made her decision. "We accept their offer. But we go in with our eyes open. These aliens need us more than they're admitting. That gives us leverage." Within days, human shipyards around Earth began the most ambitious project in history. Old warships were retrofitted with hastily understood alien technology. Volunteers from every nation's military signed up for the most dangerous mission ever attempted. The aliens had expected humanity to provide ground troops for their war. They had no idea they were about to unleash something far more dangerous than any ancient AI swarm. They were about to discover what happened when humans stopped playing by civilized rules. The alien technology felt wrong in human hands. Admiral David North watched his crew struggle with controls that seemed designed for beings with entirely different nervous systems. The retrofitted Earth ships looked like patchwork monsters. Human, steel welded to gleaming alien components that hummed with unfamiliar energy. 3 weeks after departing Earth, the human expeditionary force dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Rigel sector. What they saw defied every assumption they had made about space warfare. The battle was already raging when they arrived. Alien ships moved in perfect formations, their hulls gleaming like jewels as they fired beams of pure energy across impossible distances. The enemy was different. Harvester vessels looked like geometric nightmares, black structures that seemed to absorb light itself. They moved with the cold precision of machines, but there was something organic about the way they flowed, around obstacles. Lord Crix's massive dreadnought dominated the Allied fleet. The Dreknari commander opened communications with barely concealed disdain. "Humans, you will take position in the rear guard. Support our main assault with your primitive weapons." North bit back his first response. The alien's tone made it clear that humanity was expected to follow orders without question. "Understood. What are our primary targets?" "The smaller harvester units. Leave the capital ships to civilized beings with proper weapons." Crix's image flickered with static that might have been contempt. The human fleet moved into position behind the main alien formation. North watched the tactical displays with growing unease. The aliens fought like they were performing a ballet. Beautiful, precise, and completely predictable. The harvesters had clearly studied their enemies well. They moved to counter every alien tactic before it could be fully deployed. "Admiral," called Commander Lisa Park from the assault ship Phoenix. "Permission to break formation. I think I see a weakness in their left flank. North hesitated. Crix had made it clear that humans were expected to follow alien tactical doctrine. But watching the aliens lose ship after ship to an enemy that seemed to anticipate their every move, he made a decision that would change everything. All ships, you have tactical freedom. Engage targets of opportunity. What happened next shocked everyone in the battle zone. The human ships scattered from their neat formation like a pack of wolves. They moved with chaotic unpredictability, using their primitive chemical rockets to change course in ways that made no mathematical sense. The Phoenix dove toward a cluster of harvester frigates, her hull bristling with missile pods. Instead of the elegant energy weapons preferred by the aliens, she opened fire with hundreds of nuclear-tipped projectiles. The explosions looked crude compared to the precise plasma beams used by the rest of the fleet, but they worked. Harvester armor that had adapted to deflect energy weapons found itself dealing with simple kinetic force and radioactive fire. The mechanical beings had no defense against weapons they had never encountered. 3 enemy ships died in the first salvo. Impossible, whispered Advisor Shen over the communication channel. Her crystalline form pulsed with what might have been confusion. Those weapons should not be effective against adaptive armor. Commander Park's voice crackled through the static. That's because you've been fighting them wrong. You use the same energy frequencies, the same targeting systems, the same tactical approaches. They learn from everything you do, but they've never seen a missile that changes its mind halfway to the target. The human tactic was beautifully simple. Instead of sophisticated guidance systems, their missiles used random course corrections that even the humans couldn't predict. The harvesters could not adapt to chaos. North watched his fleet tear into the enemy formation with growing satisfaction. The Richmond used her electromagnetic pulse weapons to shut down harvester systems before finishing them off with conventional explosives. The Soul employed a tactic that horrified the aliens, ramming damaged harvester ships at full speed while her crew escaped in armored pods. But it was what happened planetside that truly shocked their alien allies. The industrial world of Kepler Prime was under siege by harvester ground forces. The mechanical beings were systematically stripping the planet of resources, while the alien defenders fell back to their prepared positions. Park led a volunteer force down to the surface in old-fashioned dropships that the aliens considered laughably primitive. What she found was a perfectly organized enemy following predictable patterns as they consumed the planet piece by piece. They're not really intelligent, she reported to North. They're just very sophisticated machines following programming. They adapt to energy weapons and organized resistance, but they've never dealt with guerrilla warfare. The humans did not try to fight the harvesters in open battle. Instead, they used tactics that violated every rule of civilized warfare. They hid in sewers and abandoned buildings. They built bombs from industrial chemicals and detonated them when harvester patrols passed overhead. They used the enemy's own predictable behavior against them. Small teams of humans would attack harvester positions with weapons so primitive that the mechanical beings could not process them as threats. Crossbows firing explosive bolts, swords, and axes when ammunition ran low, fire when everything else failed. The aliens watched in horror as human soldiers threw themselves at enemy positions with weapons that belonged in a museum. But it worked. The harvesters began making mistakes, their programming unable to cope with tactics that made no logical sense. Barbarians, muttered a Draknari officer as he watched security footage of humans using improvised explosives to collapse a tunnel full of harvester troops. Effective barbarians, North replied coldly. Within 72 hours, the human force had done what months of alien resistance could not accomplish. They had driven the harvesters off Kepler Prime and destroyed 3 of their capital ships in the process. But even as they celebrated their first victory, the humans began to notice troubling signs. Alien supply convoys arrived late or not at all. Intelligence briefings contained obvious gaps. Most disturbing of all, they intercepted communications between alien commanders discussing the human problem. Park confronted North during a brief rest period between battles. They're planning something, Admiral. The way they look at us has changed. We're not allies anymore. We're competition. North studied the tactical reports on his personal tablet. The humans had won every engagement they had participated in, usually with minimal losses. The aliens, meanwhile, continued to suffer devastating casualties using their traditional methods. Fear and jealousy were poisonous combinations in any species. Keep monitoring their communications, he told Park, and make sure our people are ready for anything. We came here to help them fight monsters. I'm starting to think we might have to fight both. The message arrived through encrypted channels at no 347 hours ship time. Commander Park read it twice before the full meaning sank in. Intelligence officers had been monitoring alien communications for weeks, and what they discovered made her blood run cold. Lord Crix and Advisor Shen had been discussing the human problem in private channels they thought were secure. The recordings were clear. The aliens planned to eliminate the human fleet and blame the harvesters for their destruction. They could not tolerate the embarrassment of being outfought by primitive savages. Park immediately contacted Admiral North on the secure channel. His face on the screen showed the same grim understanding that she felt. How long do we have? Hours. Maybe less. They're positioning their ships for the attack during the assault on Terminus. They'll claim it was a tactical error that left us exposed. Terminus was a factory world that produced most of the weapons for the alien fleet. If the harvesters captured it, the war would effectively be over. The plan called for a massive coordinated assault, with human forces leading the most dangerous frontal attack while alien ships provided support from a safe distance. North stared at the tactical display showing the planned operation. Every detail had been designed to put human ships in maximum danger while giving the aliens perfect cover for betrayal. They really think we're stupid enough to fall for this. What are your orders, Admiral? North was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried a coldness that Park had never heard before. Send a message to General Santos on Earth. Tell her they picked the wrong species to betray. The assault on Terminus began exactly as planned. Human ships moved into attack position while the alien fleet formed up behind them in perfect support formation. The harvesters had fortified the planet heavily, turning its industrial cities into fortress complexes bristling with weapons. Park led the first wave in her assault ship Phoenix, diving through the atmosphere under heavy fire. Behind her, a dozen other human vessels followed, their hulls scarred from previous battles but their crews eager for the fight. The orbital defenses opened fire with beams of energy that could cut through starship armor like paper. But the humans did not fight like the aliens expected. Instead of maintaining formation and trading shots with the enemy, they scattered in all directions, using the planet's gravity and magnetic field to mask their approach. Phoenix to all ships. Park broadcast on the tactical channel. Remember, we're not here to win this battle. We're here to survive it and make them pay. The betrayal came exactly when intelligence had predicted. As human ships engaged the orbital platforms, Lord Crix's dreadnought and the rest of the alien fleet began moving away from the battle zone. At the same time, they fed false targeting information to human gunners, sending their missiles into empty space instead of enemy positions. But North had prepared for this. Instead of protesting or trying to retreat, the human fleet did something that no one expected. They attacked everything in range. The Phoenix spun around and fired her full missile payload not at the harvesters but at the retreating alien dreadnought. Nuclear explosions blossomed against Crix's shields as Park's voice cut through all communication channels. This is for thinking we were stupid enough to trust you. The tactical situation descended into chaos. Human ships that should have been desperately fighting for survival instead turned their weapons on their former allies. The Richmond rammed a luminous cruiser at full speed, her captain broadcasting human curse words that the universal translators could not handle. Admiral North's flagship Boston opened fire on everything within range that was not human. His message to the galaxy was brief and terrifying. You wanted to see what human warfare looks like when we stop playing nice. Here's your lesson. The aliens had made a critical error in understanding human psychology. They thought betrayal would demoralize their former allies and make them easy to eliminate. Instead, it transformed them into something far more dangerous than any ancient AI swarm. Human crews that had been following rules of engagement and trying to minimize casualties suddenly abandoned all restraint. Ships that were damaged beyond repair turned themselves into guided missiles, ramming enemy vessels while their crews escaped in armored pods. Boarding parties armed with weapons that belonged in museums cut through alien defenders who had never faced combat knives and shotguns. But the real terror came from the human ability to adapt and improvise. Park's engineers had been studying captured harvester technology for weeks. Now they put that knowledge to use in ways that horrified everyone watching. The Phoenix disabled a harvester command ship and used its own transmission arrays to hack into the mechanical network. Within minutes, Park had turned an entire squadron of enemy fighters against their own command structure. The harvesters found themselves fighting themselves as human-controlled units attacked their former allies. "This is impossible." Advisor, Shen's voice crackled with electronic distortion. "No organic mind should be able to interface directly with harvester technology." Park's response was broadcast across all channels. "That's your problem. You think like civilized beings. We think like the monsters you made us into." The battle for Terminus lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the industrial world was in human hands. But the cost had been devastating. Nearly half the human fleet was destroyed or crippled. Thousands of human lives were lost. But the real shock came in the aftermath. Instead of retreating or asking for reinforcement, the surviving human forces began systematically hunting down the alien ships that had betrayed them. They used captured harvester technology to track fleeing vessels and destroyed them without warning or mercy. Admiral North's final message to the Galactic Council was broadcast from the ruins of Krix's former flagship. The Draknari Lord was alive, but imprisoned in what had once been his own brig. "You invited us to help you fight a war. You taught us your technology. You showed us your weaknesses. Then you tried to kill us." North's face filled the screen, scarred from the battle, but utterly, without compromise. "That was your mistake. We're not your soldiers anymore. We're not your allies. From this moment forward, we're your worst nightmare." Behind him, human technicians worked with captured alien equipment and modified harvester components. They were building something new, something that would make the galaxy remember why humanity had spent its entire history perfecting the art of warfare. The message ended with coordinates and a simple ultimatum. Any alien ship that approached human-controlled space would be destroyed without warning. The betrayed had become the betrayers, and they were very good at their new job. Earth received North's final transmission 6 hours later. General Santos read the report twice before calling an emergency session of the Global Defense Council. The message was clear. The aliens had made humanity their enemy. Now they would learn what that really meant. Production facilities across Earth began retooling for total war. The galaxy had taught humanity that the universe was not a friendly place. Humanity was about to return the lesson with interest. The factory worlds of Earth had never worked this hard, not even during the worst wars in human history. General Santos walked through the sprawling industrial complex that had once built civilian spacecraft, now converted entirely to weapons. Production. The sound was deafening. Hammering, welding, the roar of furnaces that never cooled. Humanity had learned what betrayal felt like, and they were forging their response from steel and fury. "How many ships can we produce per week?" Santos asked the chief engineer as they passed the assembly line, where workers installed human-designed weapons into alien hull configurations. "At current production rates, 12 heavy cruisers and 40 fighters. But we're not just building ships anymore, General. We're building something the galaxy has never seen before." The engineer led her to a secure facility where Dr. Emma Walsh worked with a team of specialists. The captured harvester technology filled the room with an eerie blue glow. But this was not the same technology the aliens had struggled against. This was something new, something that combined human ingenuity with mechanical precision. "We cracked their control codes 3 days ago," Walsh explained, her eyes bright with exhaustion and triumph. "The harvesters are not truly independent. They follow programming that can be rewritten if you know how to think like them." Santos studied the displays showing harvester units moving in perfect coordination, But these units bore human markings and responded to human commands. You turned them into our weapons. Better than that. We turned them into hunters specifically designed to target alien ships while ignoring human vessels. Every piece of technology the aliens gave us when we formed the Alliance, we've programmed the harvesters to see those energy signatures as priority targets. Meanwhile, in the Rigel sector, the survivors of Admiral North's fleet had become something that terrified both harvesters and aliens. Commander Park commanded a mixed force of human ships and captured alien vessels, all modified with harvester technology that she had learned to control through methods that would have driven most organic minds insane. The latest target was a Draknari supply convoy trying to reach their embattled homeworld. Park's ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly in the convoy's path, ignoring every rule of space warfare that required advance warning and opportunity to surrender. Phoenix to all ships, Park broadcast. No survivors, no prisoners. They wanted to see what humans do when the gloves come off. The attack was over in minutes. Human-controlled harvester fighters swarmed the convoy while modified human ships used weapons that the aliens had never encountered. Plasma charges that burned through energy shields, kinetic projectiles that punched through hull armor like paper. Most terrifying of all, boarding pods filled with human soldiers who fought with a savagery that shocked even hardened alien veterans. The Draknari commander of the lead ship managed to send one final transmission before his vessel was destroyed. They have become monsters. The humans have become the very thing we sought to destroy. Park's response was broadcast across all frequencies. We learned from the best teachers. You showed us that the universe rewards only the strong. Thank you for the lesson. But the real horror for the Galactic Council came when they realized the scope of human planning. This was not random revenge or undisciplined rage. Humanity was conducting a systematic campaign of conquest, using strategies that no civilized species had ever contemplated. Lord Crix, imprisoned aboard North's flagship, was forced to watch as human forces attacked Draknari colonies with weapons specifically designed to cause maximum psychological damage. Cities were not destroyed quickly with energy weapons. Instead, human forces used tactics that forced evacuation while broadcasting messages that promised safety to any alien who surrendered unconditionally. Your people are not warriors, North told Crix during one of their daily interrogation sessions. You have forgotten what real warfare looks like. You fight with rules and honor and mercy. We fight to win. The Admiral showed Crix tactical displays of human operations across the galaxy. Not random attacks, but carefully coordinated strikes, designed to cripple alien industrial capacity while preserving civilian populations for future control. We are not trying to commit genocide, North explained with cold precision. We are establishing the new order of the galaxy. Your species will survive, but as subordinates to human leadership. The age of alien superiority is over. Reports flooded in from across known space. Human forces had captured the luminous crystal farms that powered most energy weapons. The rock-borne asteroid mines that provided raw materials for starship construction were under human control. Even the advanced medical facilities that kept alien populations healthy were now operated by human administrators. But the most devastating blow came when the first wave of Earth's new fleet arrived in the contested zones. These were not the retrofitted ships that humanity had initially sent. These were purpose-built warships designed from the ground up to fight both harvesters and aliens. The lead ship was the Retribution, a massive dreadnought that combined human industrial techniques with alien technology and harvester adaptability. When it opened fire on a luminous battle group, the results shocked every observer. The Retribution's weapons were not energy beams or plasma charges. They were projectile weapons that fired modified harvester units as ammunition. Each projectile was a small AI that could adapt its attack based on the target it encountered. Energy shields meant nothing to weapons that could change their own properties in flight. Advisor Shen's crystalline form flickered with terror as she watched her fleet's most advanced ships destroyed by weapons that should not have been possible. They have exceeded our technological capabilities in less than a year. How is such advancement possible? The answer came from Dr. Walsh, whose research had unlocked secrets that the aliens had spent millennia failing to understand. Humans did not just copy alien technology. They improved it by combining it with approaches that civilized species considered too dangerous or unethical to attempt. Human scientists worked directly with harvester programming, allowing the mechanical minds to enhance human understanding of physics and engineering. The process was dangerous, sometimes fatal, but it produced advances that normal research would have required centuries to achieve. The psychological impact on the alien population was devastating. Species that had controlled the galaxy for thousands of years suddenly found themselves outmatched by primitives who had learned everything in mere months. Panic spread through alien worlds as refugees fled before advancing human forces. But the worst realization for the Galactic Council was that humanity showed no sign of stopping their advance. They had not achieved their goals yet. Every victory only seemed to fuel their desire for more conquest. The species they had betrayed was proving to be everything they had feared and worse. The surrender came on a Tuesday morning, Earth Standard Time. General Santos received the transmission in her command bunker deep beneath the Colorado Mountains, surrounded by displays showing human forces in control of over 60% of known galactic territory. The message was brief and unconditional. All remaining Galactic Council forces would lay down their arms. All alien governments would submit to human authority. All claims to independent rule were formally abandoned. The galaxy now belonged to humanity. Santos allowed herself a small smile as she read the document. It had taken exactly 8 months to bring 10,000 years of alien civilization to its knees. Not through superior technology or advanced tactics, but through something much simpler. Humans had shown the galaxy what total war actually meant. The final battle had taken place above the Council's capital world, where the last surviving alien fleet made their stand. Lord Crix had been released from prison specifically for this engagement, given command of a mixed force of Draknari and luminous ships. It was intended as a gesture of mercy, a chance for the aliens to surrender with some dignity intact. Instead, it became a demonstration of how thoroughly humanity had surpassed their former allies. The human fleet that arrived was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Ships that looked like they had grown rather than been built, combining human engineering with harvester adaptability and alien technology. At the center of the formation was the Retribution, now upgraded with systems that made her the most powerful single vessel in known space. Admiral North commanded the final assault personally. His message to the alien defenders was broadcast across all frequencies and translated into every known language. You have one opportunity to surrender. After that, we stop being merciful. The alien response came from Advisor Shen, her crystalline form flickering with what might have been desperate hope. We propose terms for negotiated surrender. Our peoples have much to offer as equals in a new galactic order. North's reply ended any possibility of negotiated peace. There are no equals in this galaxy anymore. There are humans, and there are subjects. Choose which category you want your species to occupy. The battle lasted less than 4 hours. Human, weapons that the aliens could not understand or counter, tore through their defenses like they were made of paper. But the real shock came when the harvesters arrived, not attacking humanity, but fighting alongside them. Entire swarms of the ancient mechanical beings had been reprogrammed by Dr. Walsh and her team. They moved in perfect coordination with human ships, their adaptive abilities now serving human strategic goals. Commander Park led the final assault on the council chamber itself. Her boarding party used a combination of human tactics and harvester technology that overwhelmed the defenders completely. When the last alien weapon fell silent, she stood in the chamber where the galaxy's rulers had once made decisions that affected billions of lives. Phoenix to Retribution, she reported. The council chamber is secure. All alien leadership is in custody. But the true scope of human victory became clear in the weeks that followed. This had never been about winning a war. It had been about replacing one galactic order with another, better one. The Terran hegemony was established with remarkable efficiency. Alien worlds that surrendered quickly found themselves incorporated into the new system with minimal disruption. Their populations continued their daily lives under human administrators, who proved to be far more competent than their former leaders. Industrial worlds increased their production under human management. Agricultural planets became more efficient at feeding growing populations. Even the military became more effective when human officers replaced the rigid alien command structures. The secret was simple. Humans had learned everything the aliens knew, but they were not limited by alien thinking. Where the Council had maintained power through tradition and fear, humanity offered something revolutionary: competent leadership that actually produced results. Dr. Walsh established research facilities that combined human curiosity with alien knowledge and harvester computational power. Scientific advances that should have taken centuries were completed in months. Medical breakthroughs eliminated diseases that had plagued organic life for millennia. The harvesters themselves became the enforcement arm of human authority. No longer a mindless swarm consuming everything in their path. They served as police, construction workers, and defenders of the new order. Their adaptive abilities made them perfect for tasks that would have been impossible for organic beings. Admiral North was appointed as the first Terran governor of the galaxy, with authority over all former Council territories. His first act was to summon the surviving alien leaders to Earth for a ceremony that would establish the new order permanently. Lord Crix and Advisor Shen stood in the same chamber where humanity had first received alien communications less than 2 years earlier. But now they wore the restraints of conquered enemies, waiting to hear their fate from the species they had tried to destroy. North's address to the assembled aliens was broadcast throughout the galaxy. His words carried the weight of absolute authority backed by overwhelming force. You invited us into your war because you thought we were primitive enough to die for your cause. You betrayed us because you feared we might become your equals. You learned too late that humans are neither primitive nor interested in equality. He gestured to the displays showing human ships patrolling former alien territories, maintaining order with efficiency that the Council had never achieved. The galaxy is now under human protection. Your species will survive and prosper, but under our guidance. You will contribute to the common good according to your abilities. In return, you will receive the benefits of competent leadership and protection from threats you cannot handle yourselves. The ceremony concluded with the signing of the Terran Accords, documents that formally ended alien independence and established humanity as the governing species of the galaxy. The signatures were witnessed by representatives of every surviving alien civilization. As the former rulers of the galaxy filed out of the chamber, broken but alive, North remained behind with Santos. The war was over, but the real work was just beginning. Any regrets, Admiral? Santos asked. North looked out at the stars visible through the chamber's massive windows. Somewhere out there, human administrators were bringing order to worlds that had suffered under alien mismanagement for millennia. Harvester fleets patrolled space lanes that had once been plagued by pirates and raiders. Scientific research proceeded at a pace that promised wonders beyond imagination. They called us monsters, he said finally. They were right. We are monsters. We just happen to be the right monsters for the job.